If you're ever let down by someone, just remember these two things and they'll make the whole experience a lot easier for you. First of all, most people don't have the same standards that you do. So for you, maybe you're always on time and you keep a tight schedule and you always keep your commitments and your promises and you really would never go back on your word. Whereas for someone else, being late might be normal. And they even account for other people being late in their head because they're so used to it. Maybe that's just the type of friend group that they're in, or the kind of parents that they had. And they've been socialized and really conditioned that this is normal. To some people, it's normal to keep a tidy, clean space, and to others, it's normal that the space is messy and that things aren't organized very well. Now, if someone disappoints you or lets you down, it's usually because your standards don't match theirs, or theirs do not match yours. And so there's conflict because these two sets of standards are fighting each other in a way. And really, you're feeling this friction, not as a result of you being a bad person or the other person being a bad person or anything like that, purely because your standards are different. So coming to terms with that and understanding that someone else's standards are different than yours and what they're used to might not be what you're used to, and just being okay with that takes off a lot of the pressure. Just understanding their perspective, thinking about maybe how they were raised or how they grew up and what kind of friends they had, what kind of environment they were in, will make you able to sympathize a lot more and empathize with them and really understand that, hey, we're different, and to them, this might not be a big deal, but to me, maybe it is. And then there's the other part. The second part is, do you voice your expectations? Do you actually say to the other person what you expect, what you're looking for? Being honest and authentic upfront is such a big part of not getting let down by other people, not being let down by others. It really comes down to, do you clearly communicate in advance, or do you wait with some hidden expectation, and then when they break it, you get upset, you get angry, and you feel all this bad energy in you, and now they're so evil, right? And you've got all this pent up tension as a result of you not communicating. And of course, for most people, it's hard to take responsibility and say, you know what, maybe it was me. Maybe I didn't make myself clear. Maybe I didn't state what I'm expecting. And in that case, it probably is my fault. It's hard to really do that. It's hard to own your own bad emotions, and realizing that it's most likely you have a part to play in the whole scenario unfolding makes it a lot easier to make things better, because it means you're in control to some extent. It means that you're able to influence the outcome. See, if you want to stop being let down by others, you have to change the way that you show up. You can't change everyone else. You can't change everyone else's standards. You can try to help them. You can try to help them lift their standards. Of course, you can lift your own standards. That's great. But you're not going to be able to control everybody else's standards. And so in that case, what you can control is your communication. The way that you talk to people, the way that you let them know, the way that you're friendly and warm about it, but also very, very specific and clear, and you make sure that it's received before you start expecting something. You see, hidden expectations corrode relationships. They destroy them because they're never voiced and they're just kept inside, and then when the other party doesn't meet them, there's all this frustration and anger, and you never even made it clear. So make sure that you're setting clear expectations, and make sure that you understand that even when you do, that doesn't mean that you're entitled to someone else fulfilling them. It doesn't mean that somehow now, because you've said what you wanted, you're supposed to get it. You can try to make sure it happens. You can try to influence the outcome, right? But you can't guarantee anything. And that's the beauty of life. So it's not about what happens, it's about how you respond and how you interpret it. So if you interpret someone else letting you down as, they don't care about me, clearly, I'm not valued in their life, then that will be one experience, right? And then you probably spiral downwards from there. But if on the other hand, you interpret it as, oh, look, they have different standards. Maybe this wasn't what they wanted to do. Maybe they weren't really ready to meet my standards. Maybe I didn't even communicate it clearly enough to them. And you take that perspective, now it's an upward spiral because you realize that, hey, people are different. And sometimes things don't match up very well, things don't go as planned, and that's okay. And so there's a deep underlying acceptance based on the frame you're coming from. When you change the way that you look at things, remember, the thing that you're looking at will change. That's crucial. So if you want the thing to change the way you look at it. Change the way you look at someone letting you down. Change it to, hey, maybe I didn't clearly express my standards or my expectation. Maybe they're not ready to meet that expectation and I'm expecting too much of them. What type of person am I really dealing with here? And not to degrade them or call them stupid or blame them or say, oh, well, he's just a flake or whatever, right? You could always come up with a rationalization, but really trying to understand what you could have done better. Okay, that's so crucial because self-responsibility is the ultimate self-growth. Right? That's the source. When you take responsibility, you can actually do something and change something and improve your life. If you don't do that and you just blame everybody else, you're going to continue getting let down. I promise you, you will be let down again in a very short amount of time if you say that it's somebody else's fault and it's just them and they're just unreliable or they're just a mess. They don't have it together like I do, right? If you take the road of the high horse, and you say you're almighty, then there's no growth for you. And you're gonna keep having the same experiences because you're unwilling to face what it is in you that's causing these events and experiences in your life. So please look in the mirror, as I always like to do, and say, what can I change about that person right there that I'm looking at versus all the other people outside, trying to distribute blame conveniently into each corner and each person so that none of it falls on you. Really assume that responsibility, and now chances are you're gonna stop having the experience of other people letting you down. In fact, I found that in my life, I very rarely feel like anyone ever lets me down. If anything, it's me, right? What could I have done better? How could I have positioned myself more cleverly and not have to deal with someone else maybe not performing? Could I maybe have had a safety net for them to make sure that everything goes well? What can I do to make sure, doesn't mean you don't trust people, of course, but what can I do to make sure that I get the outcome that I'm looking for? What else can I do that's in my influence, right? Instead of shoving the blame, you look at what you're capable of. And that increases really your ability to not only achieve your goals and your dreams, but also to positively affect other people. And people that otherwise would have been called flakes or weak or unorganized, all of a sudden are extremely valuable, and you can work great with them because you assume a lot of the responsibility and you understand that people are different. You work to their strengths instead of their weaknesses. You don't blame them when they don't perform in an area that they're not good in, and you just accept that, hey, people are good at different things. Maybe just play to their strengths and their advantages instead of putting them at a disadvantage. And this increases your power in the marketplace, and whatever you're doing, no matter what you're doing in your life. If you can apply this, you'll feel so much more empowered and you'll have a much better time interacting with everyone you meet.